Hi there, welcome to the Photo Flunky Show, episode number 63. Today's topic, we're going to be talking about why you should rent lenses and gear before you just go out and buy something. Thank you for joining us today. My name is William Beem.
My name is Lee Beem.
And welcome to the Photo Flunky Show. Just before we get started off on our topic, I want to let you know that show notes for this episode are going to be available at williambeem.com/episode 63. And you can get a free transcript of the show there. I'm having a hard time with my words today, aren't I?
It's okay. It all came out.
It happens pretty much every show, I think. And of course, there are going to be links to subscribe. You can either visit the link that I just mentioned, or you can go to photoflunky.com. Not only does it have links to subscribe to the show, but there's a player there with all of our previous episodes. So if you want to check this out and check out a few other episodes, go to photoflunky.com and enjoy yourself. I also want to mention I've got a free ebook available for you. And there's a couple of ways that you can get your copy. This ebook is called Creative Portraits. And it's not necessarily a technical book, but it's more about the compositional and creative aspects that go into portrait photography. So you can get a copy at williambeem.com/free book. Or if you're on the move and just not near a computer, it's very easy. You can use your phone to send a text message and just text the code CP book to 33444. So CP for like Creative Portraits book, CP book to 33444. And you'll get a response back. It'll ask you to enter your email address, and then it will send the ebook right to you. And finally, before I begin, I just want to let you know that I've got my code for MacFun Luminar. Luminar has an update to it. This is MacFun's raw processing, and this is only going to be good for Macintosh computers. So if you're a Windows user, I'm sorry that this one's not for you, but I'm really enjoying Luminar. And you can save $10 off the purchase price if you use my code, which is just my last name, Beem, B-E-E-M, and go off to macfun.com. When you check out, use the code B-E-E-M. That also works to give you a discount on other products there, but MacFun Luminar has come out, like I said, with version 1.1.1. They've made some improvements. They've added a few more things. There's some more presets in there. And it really is a very interesting raw processing engine. So I know a lot of us use either Adobe Camera Raw or we use Lightroom, and those are fine tools in themselves. But there's just a little bit more to Luminar. You get many of the same kind of functions you get there, but also some of the creative things that you would have from a plugin. And you can kind of finish your photo in just one place in a way that you can't do with the Adobe products. So I really recommend checking it out. There's a free trial if you want to check it out before you buy. But if you do buy, save yourself some money and use the code BEEM. All right, enough of the preamble announcements. Today we're going to be talking about renting camera lenses and gear and some of the reasons why you may want to do this. Lee, I know you've done this a number of times, and so have I. It's one of those things that I think people forget about, but it's really available and easy to do.
Yep.
There are a few reasons why you may want to do this. One of the easy ones is try it before you buy.
Yes.
A lot of the camera gear and lenses are extremely expensive, depending on what your budget is. You may not know, is this really worth your money? So getting a chance to rent it for a while and try it out is just a simple way of making sure that your cash that you work hard for is going for something that's really going to do the job that you want to do. And another reason is you won't need it often enough really to justify buying it. And I think this is kind of what happened with you in some cases.
I've done it the wrong way first, and then I did it the right way. I did it the wrong way based on advice, which was actually good advice, but I didn't apply the advice very well.
What was the wrong way and what was the advice?
Okay, the wrong way was actually good advice, that because I was taking a prolonged trip, I was looking at renting from a place at home and then taking it with me, which meant I needed extra days for travel included in the rental. So I was renting it for a slightly longer time. And when I looked at the cost of it, it was just extortionate, with the damage waivers and things like that went on top of it, which obviously I was going to take for traveling. And somebody said to me, Will, have you looked at buying it new, using it and selling it as soon as you get back? Because the loss you would take on a pretty much new camera lens would be negligible. I went and I had a look and thought, that's actually true. I'd lose, so little reselling it almost new in its original packaging if it was only X number of weeks old. So I bought it. The problem is I bought it and tried to justify why I would want it and want to keep it, because it was a good lens. It just wasn't the lens for me. And I waited and waited and waited and tried to make it work. 18 months, maybe 2 years later, a new lens came out, a new version of that lens came out, and the price plummeted. I ended up losing several hundred on it when I did eventually sell it, even though it was barely used.
See, that's something I hadn't considered, but it's like, yeah, buy it and then go around and resell it. First, that seems like a lot of work to me. And second is, if you don't do it, if you don't stick to your plan, you're right, you may lose value the longer you hold on to it. And if a new version comes out, it's like, well, nobody really wants to go back and buy the old one.
Well, look, most of us who rent a lens that we want to buy pretty much have a good idea that we want to buy it. So for me, buying it, I knew that I was going to want to keep it when I got it. But my initial feelings were I just couldn't justify buying it because it was for a specific purpose. I was right. But as I say, the advice was good. I just didn't apply it very well. And then these little things come into your mind. So I think that only works if you're very disciplined and able to say, look, I'm buying this now, I'm selling it afterwards. I don't think it's a bad plan at all, especially for the more expensive lenses. But in my case, I lost some money on it.
And that can happen with that kind of plan. A couple other reasons why you may want to go with renting is, one, maybe you've already got the gear, but it's for some reason not working, or it's in for repair, or maybe you just need more than one version of it. For example, I've got my 24-70. You like using it. I like using it, but
Yes.
we've only got the one lens between us.
Yes.
So for a couple of bodies, it's like occasionally we might go do something where we say, you know what, we both really need to use this same kind of lens.
That's true. Yeah.
And it's not something that we want to go off and buy, because most of the time we're shooting with different lenses. So
Yes.
to buy 2 copies of the same lens isn't really feasible for us.
It's not, no.
You might need it for a job, but this is one of my favorite ones, is to avoid traveling with your gear.
Okay, that was a big one for me, and that's where I got smart after the first mess.
Locally, we had some friends who did this. They're no longer in business for this, but their business was called Kingdom Camera Rental.
Absolutely amazing. I am so sad that they're out of service.
They had a lot of fans at the Walt Disney World area, and basically what happened was you'd fly in and they would deliver to you at a Walt Disney World resort or wherever you needed to.
Yes.
So you didn't have to go through the airplane, and didn't have to pack and travel with it. You didn't have to worry about, oh, I'm sorry, the overhead bins are full, we have to put your camera gear inside of checked luggage.
Yeah, because most of us have some kind of, even if it's household or travel insurance, we have some kind of insurance on our gear. When you're traveling with somebody else, there's a limit to what kind of insurance you can get, because otherwise people could just claim it's damaged and keep it.
But the nice part about renting, and it's not just this business that's gone out, there are other places where you can have either pickup spots or shipped to your destination the gear that you want. It might be a less stressful travel experience to avoid traveling with your gear and just have a copy of what you are comfortable with using sent to your destination.
Well, it's not only that. Also, remember, a lot of these you pay per week or per day. That's generally how they work. So if you've got to fly out on Monday morning and you're going to be traveling the whole day on Monday, or if you're going to drive down, you've already lost a day where you're not using the lens, but it doesn't help for it to arrive on Monday. You need to make sure it arrives maybe on Friday so you can test it out, try it, make sure it works, and then have it packed and ready to go. So there's a few days. And the same thing happens when you get back. Then you've still got to get it into whatever mailing or return service you have, or get there to drop it off. So you've got those extra wasted days. You are paying for days of that lens rental or camera rental when you're not getting any value out of it.
No, so having something that you can either pick up or have delivered to your hotel as soon as you get there really is kind of your best value for these things. Now, we mentioned, Kingdom Camera Rental is no longer in business. They were in the Orlando area, and they had a lot of fans. The 2 biggest places I know that do lens and gear rental are lensprotogo.com and borrowlenses.com. And they'll do more than just lenses. I mean, for example, they cover Nikon and camera and a number of other brands. They'll also have cameras that you can rent. They have lighting that you can rent. They have gear that you can, video gear that you can rent. But it goes even beyond that. Like some of the things that I thought about whether I really wanted to buy or not, and Lee told me that I did not want to buy them.
I know, I'm such a spoil sport.
Was like the DJI Osmo. I looked at that and I saw the videos, the company was putting out that, oh, this is magical. I want this. And you looked at the cost of it and said, are you kidding? You want to spend that much money for something that has no ability to zoom, or you can't even see what you're recording at the time? And I thought, okay, that makes sense. But now you can actually go to Borrow Lenses, for example. They have a couple of versions of some of these gimbals that you can rent with the cameras on them. And they're very popular because some of them seem to be rented out for the next couple of weeks or so.
Yeah.
And it's a good way to try it before you do. And fortunately for me, I didn't buy these things because I found so many problems or so many complaints with the DJI gimbals. They can have some really lovely video, but they also have a number of complaints and problems to go
And
with
a lot
them.
of limitations as well.
One of the other things I looked at is GoPro. You can rent a GoPro, like the current version of it, for like $45 for a week.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And it's like,
See, that's another thing. How much use and how often do you need to use it? How much use are you needing to get out of it? Because if you're going out every couple of months or maybe once a month and shooting with it, it might still work out cheaper to be renting it, because that way you can always rent the latest version of it.
yeah, you don't have to go through buying the upgrade cycle. You can just go rent whatever the latest version is. In my world for video, I need to do a few projects and then I might not touch it for quite a long time.
Yeah.
And we've mentioned before that we've got another blog where we want to do some video around the Orlando area. Well, getting a GoPro and mounting it on the hood of my car or something like that, or on the dashboard, and doing some travel like between the airport and the theme park is something positive that we can do to put on YouTube. But other than that, I don't really have a lot of need for a GoPro.
No.
And there may be some places around the city where I could use a gimbal, but I only need it for a few shots and then I'm done. Renting makes a lot of sense in those cases.
To me, it really does. I mean, the other thing is one of the things when we looked at the Osmo and really any of these things is just buying the camera is not your only purchase. There are extra things you need. Now, when you're renting, typically the rental companies have identified what is needed and they'll put a bundle together, which is still more cost effective than having to go out and buy whatever supports or brackets you need for it. You've got memory cards. Now, these are things that as a photographer you possibly have, but it might not be in the right format.
Well, you may not have the support for...
The spare battery. You've got like a carry case and all kinds of things. If you're buying it, the cost you see for whatever the product is, I can guarantee you is 99% of the time not the only outlay you have to make it usable for you.
Oh, absolutely not. I mean, let's take a look at the DJI, gimbal that we were looking at. If you want to do more than just hold this in your hand, they have a extendable stick, for lack of a better word, and then the tripod is just a base that the stick screws into. So like if you want to be able to extend this out, if you want to put it on a tripod and let it do its thing, well, you need to get those extra items. And trust me, none of them are inexpensive, because
no,
they
and
were
you also, I mean, the other thing as well was that you needed, if you wanted to see what you were doing, you had to kind of connect it to your phone, which means you needed to buy the phone bracket as well to hold the phone. Now, when you buy the phone bracket, you're draining power out of your phone. So you probably, if you don't already have some, need to get some kind of power bank for this. You needed extra battery because the battery life absolutely sucked in this thing.
That's true. And it's like, the DJI Osmo Mobile, you can't even replace the battery in that. You can use it for like 45 minutes to an hour, and then you've got to stop whatever you're doing and charge it up again. These are some of the things I was talking about that I decided why it really wasn't worth buying for us. But as a rental to use for a little bit, I think that's a much better or much more logical idea for my own needs, rather than buying something, getting frustrated with it, and then wondering, can I return it? Because that kind of is the other end of what you were talking about.
Yeah.
Is, buy it and then with a plan of return it. That's not what I want to do.
I evaluate absolutely everything on every level.
But then there's also chances, like maybe you're going on a trip and you're thinking, what? I don't want to use my camera. Maybe there's another one I've had my eye on, or another lens. For example, fisheye lenses. I love fisheye lenses, but I don't use them enough to warrant the price of buying one.
I rented one, but I also knew when I rented it that if I'd bought it, I would have found a way to use it.
And well, that's the thing. It's like, if you have it, and do you want to make yourself use it just because you have it? There are times I want it, but I kind of would rather plan it out. For me, it's much more cost effective, because if I look back at what I've done with the past few years and what I've done with a fisheye, it's not been that much fisheye work.
Yeah.
So if I'm going to do portraits, which is kind of what I really want to concentrate on these days.
Yeah, not for a fisheye.
Yeah, I'm not going to get a lot of fisheye portrait
But
business.
you see, if you look at my kind of weird photos, a lot of the stuff that I did, I mean, I had great fun with a fisheye.
In my case, I've got that 14 to 24, so it's not a fisheye, but I can still get some of that exaggeration.
Wide, yeah.
So there are times where there are specialty lenses or gear that you say, I just want to try it.
Yeah.
And maybe it is before a purchase decision, or maybe it's just to satisfy your curiosity. But I think renting lenses and gear and going for things that maybe it just isn't wise for a purchase decision is actually a pretty good thing to do. So the two places I've done business with are lensprotogo.com and borrowlenses.com. I don't have any hesitation to recommend either one. I don't have an affiliate relationship with either one, but I think that you're going to find that they're both reputable companies. One of the reasons that I kind of favor lensprotogo.com is that they have business relationship with UPS, and both of them can ship it to you, whatever your location is. But Borrow Lenses has like 5 places in the USA where you can do a drop off and pickup. Lens Pro to Go has 4,000.
Okay, that changes things.
Yeah, it changes
quite a
things.
lot.
So, like,
they're obviously bigger.
If there's a UPS store nearby, and you're able to travel, then yes, you can do that.
Yeah.
But if you're going to a town and you don't know where the UPS store is, either one can really help you out. They can ship directly to your hotel, and schedule it to arrive the day that you're going to be there.
Do you know? I think that renting a lens that you don't have and you're contemplating buying it also gives you a completely different perspective on its value. When you're looking at something that looks really nice, it always seems worth the cost. And then you start using it and it might be worth the cost for you, but it kind of falls into a different perspective. Because after you've had the opportunity, it's not so elusively exclusive to you because you've had it in your hands and you may still love it, but you may not still love it $2,000 worth or whatever it costs. And I think it does, once you've had a chance to play with it, you think, okay, it gives you an opportunity to get over the hype and look at things a little bit more realistic in terms of practical use.
Well, for example, look at my prime lenses. I've got the 24mm 1.4, the 35mm 1.4. I've got a 50mm 1.8 and an 85mm 1.4. Of those, I probably use the 85mm the most. And that's got a very shallow depth of field with 85mm at 1.4. I love the 24 and the 35, but I don't take them with me and use them that often.
Yeah, I've used them quite a lot. Yeah.
You've used them quite a lot. I'm glad somebody's getting some use out of them. Some of my favorite shots were taken with the 24 and the 35. But as a practical matter, I find that if I'm going off to someplace else, I don't bring those lenses as much. I usually bring the zoom lenses.
Yeah, I love the 35.
Those might have been something that, in hindsight, I might have been better off to rent because they were expensive. They were near a couple $1,000s each.
Yeah.
So
I'll make them worth your while.
Okay, well, that's good to know that they won't go to waste. So that's our advice for today is check out some of the rental options that you have before you. And if you don't, Lens Pro to Go and Borrow Lenses are really good national chains, but there may be some local options that you have as well. Like we said, we mentioned one that was local in Orlando that people really adored. It's no longer in business, but you may have some other options for rentals. Check them out and see if it's really worth your while. And maybe it'll give you a different perspective on how to do some of your photography because you can try out gear without having to save up thousands of dollars to buy it.
Yes.
Thank you so much for listening to the Photo Flunky Show. As I said before, show notes are going to be available at williambeem.com/episode 63, and you can get a free transcript of the show there. We are on iTunes, Google Play Music, Blueberry, Stitcher Radio, and maybe a couple of other things that I can't remember. You'll find links on that page that I mentioned and also at photoflunky.com. And finally, don't forget to claim your free copy of Creative Portraits. You can go to williambeem.com/freebook or use your mobile phone and text the phrase CP Book to the number 33444. It'll ask you for your email address and send it to you right away. You don't even have to be at home on your computer. Thank you so much. We'll see you again next week.